why in the world did you start a business? Why in the world didn't you take that job at Amazon? Why in the world didn't you play it safe? What was going through your head that you decided to do something absolutely crazy and start a business? That's what we're talking about today at the Think Fresh, Move Forward podcast. Comment below with your story. Comment below some of the hardest things that you've ever encountered, and also tell us some of the best wins that you've ever had. Let's see the podcast. Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. My name is Aaron.
I'm James.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Cody.
And today we're talking about why in the world did you start a business. So, Ryan, being the person here that has started the most businesses and has the most experience with, like, you know, the start and the running, the selling, even, because I don't know if anyone else has sold a business other than you. Let me ask you, where did it start with you? Like, what were you doing before you started your first business?
So it's a very, I'm trying to think here of the best way to, because I started with being a salesperson, but I was fully 100% commission. So that's not really technically a business. I'm just a salesperson, but
I think it's a taste. I think
it's a small taste.
Because it's a big difference between, like,
Clocking in and clocking out.
And the way we grow up with school. Like
the second I stop working, I stop making money. If I'm not working, I'm not making money. So it was 100%. It was a 100% sales commission job selling knives. I sold Cutco, and that is where I got that taste as far as for that drive. It took me a while. I didn't have a great, or like to call a fast start.
Yeah, wasn't the fastest start.
Yeah.
So would you? So obviously you're a very driven person. I think that if there's one common theme with, like, people who start businesses is, like, you really have to be, like, a very driven individual.
Yeah.
So before you started a business, is that how you were?
No. I would say there's reasoning. I mean, there's life choices that affected that. But then it's also being told, for me, it's when I'm told I can't do something and they give me a reason because it's you and you can't do that. That's what drives me more than anything. It's to prove you wrong.
Well, you applied to a gym, right? And
I remember. I was applying to at the same time when I was selling Coco. No, it was American Family Fitness in Short Pump.
Nice. Yep.
Fucking douchebags.
So you
I
applied to work there?
For a sales job there.
Okay.
And the guy, I remember, I do give him kudos for calling me back and telling me why I didn't get the job. He's like, yeah, I don't see you as a salesperson or whatever. Like, he was blatantly that of a dick on the phone, saying I would not be that. You don't have any sales experience. You'd never be that good. Blah 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 blah. And I was
he might have said it in a nice way, but you took it personally.
Well,
which I totally see.
This was like 10 plus years ago. So
yeah. And also, I mean, that was your way of, like, having that fire to get good at
that.
sales,
But that
right?
wasn't the catalyst that caused me to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Interview with no. It was other family members as well, which have completely changed that mindset of what I've done. Like, I would say this: my dad told me that 10 years ago.
Yeah,
like totally different mindset nowadays. Fully supportive that I would never make it. Like, the attitude, it was usually when you're a teenager in high school, you're either a really good child or your parents hate you to death. I was that. I was a piece
scapegoat.
I was a piece of shit in high school. I'd admit to that.
Okay. Well,
I was immature.
That's really interesting. So you found something that was, like, presented itself as an obstacle, and your response to that obstacle was, like,
it was
tackling it.
That, but it was also 2008, 2009. It was almost near impossible to get a job. And it was also like, if you don't get a job, you're going to be kicked out. You only have like a year left or 2 years left here, then you're out. So it's like,
wow, your dad did that too. I did that same thing.
Yeah, it's like,
it's a military thing.
It definitely is. It's just that attitude. But he's not doing it for Chaz, my youngest brother.
Oh,
he gets the.
Well, of course he does.
It's always the youngest young one
that
gets the.
Hey, let's not take shots at the golden children. As a golden child myself.
It takes one to know one, huh?
You have
as a golden child myself, as the golden side of the table.
You had that parachute. I did not. Yeah. He's spoiled. I was not. So anyways, it was a multitude. It was a multitude of things that I would say that happened that caused me to have that mindset shift, but it still took time. to at least even to where I'm today, and I'm obviously still learning and still evolving.
Okay.
But
so
it was being told no, or saying I can't do it, or you'll never amount to anything, and or it was that attitude or that way of thinking just it rubbed me the wrong way, and it pissed me off to do something about it.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so then you started selling knives.
yes,
so that was a job you picked up because you were looking. Were you looking for a sales job, or were you just?
I was
for a
looking
job?
to make money to do something. I had to
Okay.
do something,
All right.
and it was the only thing that was really hiring anyone. I mean,
And
Vector
think you
hires
were-
anyone.
And I think you were still like job searching
I was.
while you were on the job.
Absolutely,
right?
I was still looking
which
because it wasn't.
which makes sense.
It wasn't an hourly pay. It was 100% sales commission.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, trying to find something that the second I can just show up and then be paid essentially just to be there, essentially being a drone almost in a way.
Now correct me if I'm wrong. That's where you two connected.
Yeah. So for context, right?
Yeah,
I
he hired me.
recruited
recruited me.
Ryan in the summer 2010.
Yeah.
Summer
June.
2010.
Yeah, June of 2010.
Yep, and I was the manager at the time here in Richmond, and he didn't get off to the fastest start, but a
No.
lot of that was again because of a lack of I think you were still mentally like not totally
There.
committed to it,
No.
right? And then he like flipped a switch. I think it was like first week of August, maybe it was near the end
It
of the
was
summer.
the first big sale that I got.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
paradigm
it
shift.
was like, oh wow, I can actually make a good amount of money doing
It was
this.
a nice it was a
So-
nice paycheck. It was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't know what my commission was at the time. It was a $1,200 sale maybe.
Yeah,
I made 15-20% off that.
yeah.
So I made
Couple $100 bucks and-
$200 off
yeah.
that one, plus the other sales that I did that week. So
It's weird how much money that was.
Yeah,
to me,
yeah.
I will spend that like it's not. It's weird.
That's-
my
like a sip of water.
But hey, when you're 20 years old,
it's a
like-
gas tank.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nowadays.
Gas.
So obviously my concept of money or relationship money has definitely changed over the years. But yeah, that was the shift. It was getting that big paycheck. Usually it took me an hour to make that, and then seeing that all the other previous jobs, it took me 40 hours, if not, or essentially it's every 2 weeks, so almost 80 hours worth a week maybe, or part-time, whatever it was, to get the same amount.
Yeah.
Was like, whoa, if I could just do this.
The direct reflection
Again.
of your performance.
So-
equals money.
Exactly.
So in the story of Ryan, I guess like the driving motivation became like I'm going to be successful. Is that
I
is that a true
started
statement?
seeing things that I could do or buy or achieve in life with that level of dedication to something.
Mm.
Say, okay, I got that. What can I do to multiply what I just did times 10, whatever? So I did that appointment.
So you started trying to scale everything that you could see.
Yes, slowly. I went from 20,000 in sales, maybe 30,000 sales my first 6 months in the business. So from June to December of that year in 2010, I sold maybe 25, maybe 30K total. And then it went from 30K that year to 50 to then 80 to 100 to 150. It just kept going up and up. And then the biggest year I had was 250 at the time. And I got, the Rolex for selling $250,000 that year, and hit the Millionaire Club, which is the you sell $1 million with a Cutco. So I've sold 1.5 when I did it. But I started another. I did that solid straight for 6 years, and then I slowly started adding other businesses in the meantime as I created more systems in place. And
Okay.
Well, and one note on that, I think what's important about what you just said there was the incremental growth and improvement, right? It wasn't like you just went from doing 20,000 in sales for an 8-month period to 150, right?
Right.
You incrementally improved year over year, and that's always been a characteristic that I've noticed in working with you for the last, since 2010, right? So 12 plus years.
I think
Is that kind of systematic, incremental, your skills improve, your confidence grows, your actions reflect that, and
yeah,
the
and
business grows.
that culture had a lot of incentives. They did a lot of company payoff trips, a lot of rewards you can win if you a lot of sales goals.
Yeah.
What a great sales company should do to incentivize to get people
Interesting.
excited. There are a lot of companies that have sales organizations where the sales culture is lack thereof.
Yeah.
It's just you have The problem is like you have a base salary, and then you could make this much more money if you set that. But there's really not many exciting incentives for a lot of these businesses, just either because the person who runs the sales organization is never had that mindset or mentality versus. I'm not saying you have to get a Rolex to every employee, but it's finding what the person is attractive to. Like some people are really
for high achievement.
For high achievement. Some people it's
high.
money. Some people it's vacations, the experiences, the trips. Some people it's time off. Some people it's more time with your family. And it's taking that person who's in that leadership role to understand the mindset of your salespeople and to give that to them. James really pushed me towards like these sales goals and like these payoff trips. And there was one year he offered me, you sell this much in the summertime, we'll go to Vegas.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, and I hit it.
Yeah,
he gave me three
cool.
He gave me 3 different levels. You hit this much, I'll buy your flight or whatever. You hit this much flight plus hotel, and then this much flight, hotel, and a nice dinner. I hit that one. By the way, I think you still owe Carter a Vegas trip.
Yeah, if Carter's listening, just remember, Carter, Crittenden always pays his debts.
And that was
years
10
years later.
That will happen.
So so a lot for me it was
goal oriented.
It was goal oriented, but for me it was where before I didn't grow up wealthy, or whatever. I didn't have access to super nice things, and like for me, Cutco's like epitome, like a goal thing for the year was getting Rolex. For a lot of people, that attracted a lot of people to hit that. Some people could care less. My buddy Gonzalo, who sold Cutco in Texas, first rep ever in a year to sell $1 million of the Cutco, gives 2 shits about his Rolex. He actually sold it. I call him an idiot for selling it because if he would have kept it, it'd actually be worth 5 times the amount if he had just kept it. But that being said, he wasn't. For him, it was more about recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wanted to be seen as the
So
the driving force.
What you're getting at is like you really latched on to a goal mindset,
right?
So like it incentivized you to like get better, and so then correct me if I'm wrong. You started seeing other businesses as goals. Is that true?
Well, what happened is that I noticed that there was a ceiling I could only hit with the company, to where, because it wasn't I couldn't, I started noticing things where I couldn't really dictate, like I couldn't negotiate pricing on shipping. I couldn't, work on getting better shipping prices for myself or negotiate on lower cost for other products. So I started adding other products that are not within this one line to increase my revenue. How can I increase my revenue if the company's not going to let me do it within internally? So I realized the ceiling that I hit, and how else can I maximize my time and my efficiency working with these people? And I found other products to sell to them that didn't take away from that. Because I realized when I was selling closing gifts to agents, because that's where most of my time went after about doing the residential stuff with Cutco, is I realized there was like, I'll be in a room with 20 real estate agents. And if 5 agents bought, $1,000 each worth of stuff, that was a great day for me. $5,000 in sales for the week, great. I made 50% commission, made $2,500 for an hour worth of my time. But that being said, there are, I said 20 agents. I say there's 15 other agents in our room that could have spent money, but they didn't have the $1,000. But if I could get $200 at an additional 5 more people, it's just trying to figure out how to maximize my time and efficiency to make more money to then start doing more things. So I started another business in started in 2015 and launched in 2016 to add another product that was like a low-cost product. It was like a $50 price tag. And a lot of agents love that $50 price tag when it comes to gifts for whatever reason.
Instead of 100 plus.
Instead of 100 or 200 on some of these agents were giving. So I found something that was really cool that you could also brand and they can promote themselves, because we were selling essentially marketing for these agents. You give a knife that's engraved with your name on it. It sits in their house forever. They see it every single day.
Yeah.
It creates that, daily
That's smart.
touch. Yep. Yeah, and it's tax write-off, all that great stuff. But again, not every agent was spending $100 or more. How can I get these other cheap agents to spend? That's really what it was.
Yeah.
To spend money, they're
You
buying
were in front
to
of, so you were fleshing out your audience is what you were doing. You were seeing where what more value, because you were already spending the time. So it's more like grabbing low hanging fruit.
Try to get $1 from every single person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
That's interesting.
so I started a business called Stratos. We made these insulated tumblers. It fit around. It was branded, engraved with the realtor's info on it. And they gave that. It was designed. You could put an entire bottle of wine in it. It floats. We just found that out by accident. You can put an entire bottle of Jack Daniels in it. It keeps things cold for 24 hours, hot for 12. and it blew up like a wildfire. And a lot of people in my space that were selling to realtors loved that idea, and that was my sales force for that company.
Okay.
So I went from 0 to 400. We did $400K our first year. I spent
wow.
$0 in advertising, and what happened is my buddy Aaron.
And you were watching this all happen.
Oh yeah.
And what did you think about the Stratos?
I thought it was great. Yeah, I mean, because the reality is like.
Well,
at this point, I wasn't going to tell him how he was going to do his business, right?
There-
Our
there were-
relationship was mature enough that, like, it wasn't like I was going to coach him up on this.
Yeah.
I was there to get cigars with him every couple weeks and let him vent about things, right?
Oh, I bitch a lot.
and really just continue to foster the relationship. It more than it was like me just being.
There were DMs, district managers in the company that despised what I was doing because they weren't making money off of it because it wasn't a
Yeah,
product.
but they weren't going to be making money off of it anyway. Well, yeah.
Well,
whatever.
I mean,
but,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they some
People
of
are
them
gonna
tried.
be people.
Yeah.
Some of them tried to stop it. That's a whole nother
Yeah.
discussion on its own. But what happened is all these other reps saw the writing on the wall, like, oh my God, why didn't I think of this? I'm like, yeah, and it spread like wildfire. And now I believe to this day the closing gift program, they still sell a ton of Cutco, but like I added a lot of like $100,000s of dollars to these people's pockets just by sparking the idea. So we did $400K the first year, and then
Should have
we-
patented that. No, it's not a thing you can do. But anyway, go ahead.
and we were kind of the first people in that industry.
Well,
to-
it shows you timing, right? Yeah.
we did it before Yeti. We
Yeah.
did it before Corsical.
I mean, like the insulated tumbler market has exploded now, right?
What?
It's
We,
like,
we did it right before it exploded, but
Yeah.
no one was engraving anything.
Yeah.
The reason why you now see all these engraved, like branded stuff, us.
yeah.
I made no money off that. These dickheads just took my idea.
So how long did you do Stratos for? And so
So-
Stratos is the business that you've recently
I
recently
sold it in 2019. So that business started in 2016. Sold it for 2019. I can't say it's not a non-disclosure agreement, but we walked away with money. But I got burnt out by that business because I got tired of dealing with Cutco reps. They were wearing me out from it. They're the worst customers ever. Sorry, guys. They're just like real estate.
Well, the thing to keep in mind in that business is that as a
There's
salesperson,
lots of emotion.
hey, well, and as a salesperson, you're not used to fulfillment of orders, right? In that business, you write up the order, you send it to the factory does everything. The factory ships it, the factory builds it, right? Makes the product, ships it, does customer service, does everything. Ryan was trying to do customer service, fulfillment of products and orders, shipping from overseas.
A
Refunds.
lot of this stuff was
So
taken
it's
from
just-
Granite from
yeah.
a lot of these other reps, and like, why can't you just do it? I'm like, one, I'm not a multi-million-dollar corporation that has all these systems in place.
Yeah.
I gave you an opportunity to make money.
Yeah.
Bear with me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it kind of burnt me out a little bit. So we sold it in 2019. We walked away. We had money in our pocket. It was great. I was happy. I'm glad we sold it.
And I was glad because we didn't have these insulated tumblers around the office anymore, taking up all this space.
Well, and we
So-
still
so
we
no,
still
hold-
do,
no,
by the
hold
way.
on.
There's some in the closet.
Now hold on. So when did Fresh Move Media start?
That was in 2017.
Yeah.
So
2017.
that was a
And this-
year after I had started Stratos.
Yeah.
The businesses that you
He approached me after that.
okay, so the businesses that were running what you guys were doing at the time, you were doing Cutco plus Stratos, and was there any more?
Lux Metal Card.
Lux Metal
Metal.
Card,
We'll get to
yeah.
that in a second.
Yep.
But while you guys were doing, what sparked the idea?
So 2017, I had reached like kind of a threshold in my career.
Quick note for the audience:
Yeah.
Ryan and James started Fresh Move Media that it kind of hosts. We run the
Yeah,
podcast. out of
we're in
this
our office.
Yeah,
in
this
Freshman
is
Media's office.
we're
yeah.
in Fresh Move Media right now,
Yep.
but
Yep.
they run that.
Sponsor of the podcast, like
Sponsored.
Lux Metal Card, buy your metal business cards.
Lux Metal Card sponsored this post or podcast.
So I started a few years. Let's see, I started in 2005 with Cutco. I was right out of high school.
Interesting.
Prior to that, I was working in a small hardware store as a cashier and making keys and mixing paint.
That sounds like awesome.
Yeah, and then started with the business. And since I started at a young age, I was able to, through college, like bank a lot of money and graduate without debt, which was pretty awesome. And I became a district manager and ran the Richmond office for 2009 to 2017, so 8 years, and we did just over 8.6 million in sales in those years. So we did pretty solid, and we were, consistently one of the top offices. But I'd reached a point in my career where it was like,
Burnout?
it wasn't burnout. I was
Looked like burnout to me.
No. What it was I could run trainings and interviews in my sleep. Like, I was at a point where I'd run so many trainings and interviews, and I'd built teams, and I'd done that and run meetings.
Wasn't exciting.
That I could just like coast, and it would, the analogy I always
You were
use,
no longer challenged.
Yeah, the analogy I use is a comedian goes to like do the same bit in different cities, but every single time they have to deliver it like it's the first time, right?
Yeah.
And I got really good at that, but it was just exhausting because I had just done it so much.
So that's really interesting, because I see that sometimes in photography and videography fields. In fact, one of the best photographers I have ever met, and I tell everyone that he did some of the best photos I've ever seen, and nothing else I've seen from anyone has come close. And it got to the point, so he's left that and decided to become like a rapper, and that's wild. And what's crazy is that
Completely
he's
complete
opposite,
change.
complete change.
Yeah.
But like, what's crazy is like, when I showed up, and because I shot with him for a long time, I would show up, and the effort to result ratio was insane.
Yeah.
He would be on his phone, he'd be looking off, and then like he would look up for like half a second, lazily point his camera over there, and that was it. And then like you look at the catalog, and it's like just every single one of them was just complete bangers. And like you're just like, I'm over here trying everything. I'm like studying
that's
19 hours a day.
He just had it like down to a
Yeah,
science, right?
but-
Expert level.
And what
Yeah.
happened? And
Yeah.
so that's interesting that happened to you too. And
Yeah.
like I feel like he had reached mastery, because there was a point when he was
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
super hard, and he had kind of reached mastery. And
Yeah.
like, where do you go? And I feel like that's the same thing that happened to you with Cutco. Is like
Yeah.
you would reach a ceiling, and like you were just reaching for something else,
Yeah.
like reaching for somewhere else to be,
It's
and-
the 10,000 hour rule, right? It takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something,
and then throw it away. Yeah.
and then throw it all away. Well, so then I had a choice to advance in the company, and I had an opportunity to move to another state, and I wasn't that excited about it. And so I just was like, you know what? I'm 30 years old. I had the first level of midlife crisis, I guess, when you reach 30. And I was like, I'm just going to do something new, right? I'd banked some money, and I was like, okay, I think I can make this happen. And in August of 2017, I closed my office down and opened Fresh Food Media with Ryan. I came to him in the summer, and we were sitting on my porch, and we were smoking cigars, talking about ideas.
Almost every business, by the way, I
And-
started over a cigar.
That's right. And
So that's the real key, though. Then
that's it.
Yes.
That's
real key is
that's the
like
nugget.
Smoke
It's the
cigars.
silver bullet right
All
there.
right. Well, I don't do that, but
So then
I guess.
we, had this idea, but I mean, here's the thing. It was not easy from the very beginning. We we incorporated in August of 2017, and we didn't get our first paying client until Thanksgiving weekend, right? So there were several months in there where I was like, I don't even know where to begin. Are we ever going to get someone to like pay us to do anything for them? And
so how did
We were
so,
willing to do anything for
to get
anything.
a client, yes. And
Yeah.
I mean, the first.
So in the beginning, what did you start doing? Because you guys are your sales background. So were you just like walking up to people?
Website was the first thing.
Yeah,
really.
so to Ryan's credit, he had some experience with like starting all the check boxes you need to do to start the business, right?
Okay.
So all the execution of that he had down, which helped me big time. when we
Like
were
any
there,
amazing
right?
producer.
And
which
then what
Ryan
happened?
is.
Yeah, and then what happened was we started with a very narrow. It was like social media management and
Mhm.
content
Mhm.
and websites, right? And that's what we're going to start with. And we started there. And our first sale was our first two sales were social media, right? It was Chrysalis Vineyards, right, out in Middleburg.
Mhm.
And it was a vineyard. It was basically doing social media. She talked us down on our rate by like a third. So it was like
Awesome.
we really chopped it, but we needed to just
You
make
had
the
to
sale.
do it.
we
was-
need to make money. So.
I remember being on the phone with her trying to get her to say yes, and it was like the day after Thanksgiving. I'm with the family, but I'm off in the other
She
room.
was trying to get that Black Friday special.
Yeah, that's what she was. Exactly.
She's like, I pushed them to Black Friday. Now I'm going to get them.
It was just a lot of like over and over again asking, "Hey, do you want to go ahead and move forward on this?" And then it was just silence. so tell me about this, right? And I was like, oh. So then we went back and forth,
Just squirreling out of that clothes.
45-minute call, right? My sister-in-law is a real estate agent, very successful up in D.C. She was listening in on the call, and she's like, wow, you had to work hard for that. And I was like, yeah, it was our first one, and we got it. So,
You
and
had to
then,
be stoked.
yeah.
Even though you've made 1 million sales, like this sale probably had to feel really good.
It did, right? Because it was something that did not exist at all.
It was yours.
There
It was
no
in our minds.
There's no
was yours.
playbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
That feels
no
so-
sales manual or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
There's no higher authority to go to. Hey, what could I have done better to
If
get
they
this?
say this, you say this. There wasn't any of that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was just like,
That's got to be like pure euphoria.
yeah, it was good.
It is.
Good. It was good.
And I think the first website we sold was to Sean Rogers. That was the first website.
Oh, was it first? Shout out to Sean Rogers. Awesome.
that was the
That's
first
great.
website.
Yeah.
Which by the way, we would never charge what we did for
Yeah.
the website today.
Sean, you
And
got
so-
a great deal.
Yeah, you got a great deal.
And then actually another shout out to Farron Davis, right, over at
Yes.
Woodfin, because he took a shot on us. We were just a couple like fired up,
Salespeople.
passionate sales guys that went into the room. We're like, we want to help you build a new website. It was for a tree service, right?
Right.
That's no longer in business, and it wasn't our fault that they're no longer in business. But,
Let's make that one part clear.
glowing
Woody's
recommendations.
Tree Service, and I am so thankful for Farron taking a shot on us, because like he could tell that we were new to this and we didn't have a big portfolio, but we were excited and we wanted it. And like when you want something, it comes through.
He
right?
liked that we weren't a bunch of like desk junkies that sit behind a computer all day and are like data-driven
Mhm.
analysis type people that aren't really exciting to talk to. Because he's more of a sales guy himself,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so he loved it and he took a
I
shot
think
on us.
I think if there is anything that is important in the people that you hire, like I've had a lot of growing pains in the last year to year and a half, 2 years. If there is anything to look for in people, it's drive. Like,
Yeah.
do they want it? Do they return your calls? Like, are they kicking your door down like to get there? Like how bad do they want it? Like
Yeah,
and you can read that. You can read that emotion in a million different ways, but I think like drive to do
Follow
it
up
is
until
like
it's annoying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so
And
kind of let
at the
everybody
same
know.
time, this is where Cody comes into the picture,
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Before we get to Cody,
Yeah.
tell me what Fresh Move has kind of become now.
Well, I
Pain in
mean,
the
we're a
ass.
full-service digital marketing agency, right?
Yeah.
And so, the stump speech, right, is that essentially we're the outsourced marketing department for a small business, or essentially the option for a mid-sized business that needs to have somebody manage their Google ads or create video content. And we, over the years, it didn't happen all at once, right? Because we added new services, and when you add a new service, you're not an expert at it immediately.
So a lot when we first started, a lot of the services we offer now we outsourced and then threw a margin on top of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's actually what a lot of businesses do. Anyway, that's literally what is home building? What does a contractor do? He
Yeah.
subs out all the work
Most of it, yeah.
and
He
adds,
oversees it to make
he's
sure
a-
it looks
he's
right.
somewhat the project manager, yes. But at the end of the day, the electrician, the plumber, the drywall guy,
all
the
playing a
paint
role
guy,
in that. Yep.
they're all subcontractors.
And that's why producers on movies make the most.
Yeah.
More than the director, more than the actors.
know that.
Yeah, producer by
They,
far makes
they're
the
the ones who
most.
make the shit happen.
Yeah.
So
They're the contractor of the movie business.
yeah.
So
So-
out of the gate, we hired Cody on a contract
as a
basis.
contract basis.
Yep.
And Cody, tell me what was your life doing in this
During
time?
that
Because
time,
we're kind of
so what,
we're kind of going
27
chronologically here.
2017, 2015 era. Oh man. I came back from upstate New York. I was actually working in the robotics industry, or semiconductor industry. So it's completely
Cody
separate.
is stupid smart,
I'm
and
not
sometimes
a nerd.
his brain goes faster than we do, and
I'm a stupid nerd. So
He's
Uh,
not Elon Musk, okay?
oh, God. I
all
don't-
the
I
really
don't-
smart people say that
No
they're not very
offense.
smart.
I don't
because
read
the more
Wikipedias.
the more intelligent you are, the more you realize you don't know. So,
Oh, I know nothing. It's okay.
all right, so smart.
So you're very
So smart.
Yeah. So me and Ryan actually reconnected in 2017 or
it was
2016.
it was 2017.
And I just moved back to Virginia, and I was just driving Uber. I was like, I'm bored. I just got out of the military. I worked at Global Foundries, which is a semiconductor, for about a year and a half. And I just didn't like the cold, so I came back down south. And then I was like, I got a couple, months of just savings. I just want to blow off, and I'll just drive an Uber just to do whatever. Me and Ryan hit up one day, and we're at Gather.
You stop by my office.
In Gather, Scott's Edition. Yep. Yeah. And then we're hanging out, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm building a website." And he's like, "Yeah, you can like sell these things for like $2,500." And I was like,
I said 1,500.
Yeah, at that point,
was it 15?
Yeah, you were like, no way.
No way. Yeah, because I just got back into designing.
Your jaw dropped. And I said, he's like, wait, what? Say it again? Yeah, $1,500.
I just got back into designing and developing, just getting into code, and I had.
By the way, we won't even touch a website for $1,500. So.
Yeah. So I was actually building my aunt's website, and I did it for like $400, $200. I was like, it's family discount, whatever. I didn't realize and now like you can. Some people charge like $10,000 to $30,000.
Even more than
for
that.
Squarespace sites.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
I've seen people.
It happens.
It happens.
I've seen people charge $10,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah, especially it's like if it's a rich person, you'd be like, oh yeah, we're gonna charge you $250,000 for a 3-page website, and I'm like, okay. Like the richer you are, the more money they have, they really don't care. But yeah, we reconnected, and then I became a contractor for Fresh Move Media, and then I started working for another company that did development for.
Okay. So development, that's a really vague term. That could have been
I do
real
this.
estate.
I make computers do what I want.
Okay. All right.
He types on a
simple
keyboard.
Software
terms,
development then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Software development.
Application, software development, stuff like that.
Yeah, see, he thinks this is very boring stuff. This is like really way past anything that I'm thinking about. Anyway.
I just type code. That's all I do.
Yeah, that's all he does. I just type code.
I just
Okay.
type code. There's only
He turns
millions of
coffee into code.
Cody
Yeah,
That's
I
his
need to
tagline.
wear that
Cody
shirt.
codes.
That's what I need to do.
I turn coffee
Coffee
into
into
code.
code.
So, but you've now okay. And at this point in the timeline, you were starting to work for Fresh Move doing what?
Who's doing web development?
WordPress development. Yeah.
So you were
So
as a
I was
contractor.
I was contracted.
What
to
is
do
WordPress development?
WordPress
Help a
is
person who doesn't know
CMS.
anything about
Yeah.
this.
So it's a CMS, right? Like a
Content,
Wix, a Squarespace.
CMS. He
but
doesn't know what CMS is. Content
Yeah.
management system.
Yes,
It's a
content
website
management
builder.
system.
Yep.
It's a
Yep.
website.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go.
There we go.
Right?
There's a couple hundred of them.
It's
Okay.
it's a very well-known one of the most used online.
Okay.
Almost about 50% of websites on the planet use WordPress as its builder.
67 and some change. But anyways,
A lot of people.
Okay.
a lot of people. So I was doing that. I was actually going back to school for computer science, which I haven't finished.
Me neither.
Yeah. No, I have about 150 credits. I should probably have a bachelor's by now. But
Same here.
anyways, so that timeline working freshman media doing WordPress development,
Mhm.
and then I had a kid, which changes your whole perspective, and
Everything.
We'll get to you on that.
He
one,
was
right?
then hired on us
2018.
Metal
full
card.
time.
No,
well-
that's different.
Oh,
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
different.
at this point in time, I think Lux Metal.
We got.
You start Lux
I
Metal.
started Lux
cards.
Metal in 2017. But they came to a point in time. I think it was in like 20. Is either 2018 or 2019. No, it
Somewhere
was
around there.
2018, where we got to a point at Fresh Move where we could pay him the same amount of money he was making at his previous job to take him off the contractor. Like, we need you full time now.
Mhm.
Then he quit that job and then went to us. So that was that. But 2017, I started Lux Metal Card because I was bored. Literally, I was bored. Because in January, it's our slowest sales month.
Mhm.
And it's like, I could make phone calls, but I know it's not really going to do anything. And they do a lot of incentives in January because they know it's the slowest, but it's like the most painful
Mhm.
amount of sales. And it's just like, I didn't care. So
Yeah.
I didn't really do anything, and I got bored.
That's with Cutco.
Yeah,
that
that's
was
with
that was
Cutco.
clo- yeah,
Yeah.
Cutco
This
closing
is
gifts.
pre fresh move. Yep.
Okay.
So, but I did a deal, an order with Porsche on Stratos. They did a small order.
Stratos is the
Bottle company,
bottle company.
the insulated tumbler, like
Okay.
Yeti, Corsical, Swell. They're all made by the same Chinese manufacturer, by the
Okay.
way. Fun fact. When it came to Porsche, I had bought some of these metal. I had these metal custom thank you cards made from a manufacturer that I found in China because I've been importing product from China, and I learned that whole industry because I had to for that. That was a whole learning story on its own. But I made some Stratos metal thank you cards, and I handwritten a message, and
There
I
were
sent
these
it
black metal
black
cards.
ones with Stratos cut out, and I sent it to Porsche as a thank you for the 10 bottle order or whatever. It was tiny. They obviously could have done a lot more, but they were just like giving it to a few people. They were more impressed by the thank you card than what they bought for me. And they were like,
Very
"Where'd you
cool.
buy this from?" And I was like, "Well, I can help you get that. and that's kind of how. So Porsche was technically the first client, even though Lux Metal Car hadn't been set up yet. So I got approved as a vendor through Porsche, so I could use the right logos. And we made like this cool thank you card that had a history of the Porsche Cayenne 911 on the back from the history. It was a really cool silhouette, different colors.
So you started a company doing to clarify, you started doing
Metal
started a
business
company,
cards.
metal business cards
It's
that were
metal-
like very specialized.
Metal business cards, event passes, thank you, event passes, invitations, custom wedding invitations, custom sizes, cutouts, you name it. Stainless steel, black, rose gold, gold, copper, white metal, all kinds of cool colors.
So real quick, because you've started a bunch of stuff. So tell me,
Oh, there's a lot
give
more.
Give me give me just a quick laundry list of like the businesses you've started and what
So
you've.
during Cutco, I had started a business for Cutco. So I had, instead of all the commission checks coming to me directly, I had it go to my LLC. I had called the IBI Group. That stands for Inspiration by Imagination. That's what
I didn't know that.
that's where the IBI came.
Inspiration by imagination.
Yeah, I had some weird, interesting thoughts what I had for that business back in the day.
SpongeBob.
Anyways, that's where that business has, and all my random off-sale items just feeds into that business. So if I sell something on eBay, it get paid there, and then I pay myself a salary from that business. So that's where that came from. So that was technically the first business. Stratos was the bottle company.
That's 2.
Sold that in 2019. I have Lux Metal Card,
That's 3.
and then Freshman Media.
4.
And then we have AOEM Mining, which is a crypto mining farm.
Okay.
And then I also have
And a lot of this stuff is just coming from like things that you see that you can make money from and then scale.
to
Correct.
scale it. Well, the biggest thing is how can we delegate things to automate a lot of stuff where it really doesn't require a lot of my time other than overseeing. And then there's River City Capital, which is real estate investing.
6.
I do that. By the way, I have partners. The only business I have that doesn't have a partner is IBI, because that's just
Okay.
me. It's just my
Your
entity.
funnel.
And some of these businesses, IBI actually owns that portion, and I own
Right.
100% of IBI. So like AOE Mining owns 50% of. Sorry, IBI owns 50% of AOE Mining. And then we started MineStrong, which is more of a crypto mining consulting thing.
Okay.
It hasn't really taken off yet, but slowly starting to.
But you're seeing that as a business, or are you seeing that
That's a
as
business.
Just, okay.
And
We'll call that 7.
River City Capital, though, was the real estate investing. So that's wholesaling real estate, buying and flipping a property, mostly doing it part-time, finding contractors. They do all the work. I have no desire to paint. I hate painting houses. I don't mind painting as a fun artsy thing. I hate painting houses. It's it's exhausting. Once you've done it once, you never want to do
It's
it again.
cathartic to me.
So, and our first flip, we bought this house for $125,000. We put $90,000 into it, and it sold for $360,000. Made $92,000 profit on our first flip, which is great.
Damn.
So let me ask you this.
Oh, I'm not done yet. With the other business. So this one's technically I'm more of a member of, even though I'm starting it, is the Virginia Blockchain Council. There's a bunch of members a part of it, but I don't know how that ownership works. I don't really know yet how nonprofits and profits work in nonprofits, because nonprofits do make money, but it's like, does it go to so that's another thing that I have started. But again, all these businesses, I do not do it by myself. I have other people, other partners that are bought into the idea, that see the goal in mind, or the end goal in mind. Not that there should be an
Shared
end goal.
vision.
Yeah, shared vision. That's the word I'm looking for. Shared vision in mind to accomplish something.
All right. Which business takes the most of your time?
Fresh move.
Fresh
Fresh
Move.
Move,
Okay. And
It's also the most people-intensive business.
Yeah,
right?
this business has the most employees. So the thing about AOEM Mining is that it doesn't really need it. I mean, I do a lot of like the setup, and then a lot of the financial stuff is held by my business partner. His name is Ryan as well. And his
Not to
last
make
name
it
starts.
confusing.
His also last name
So-
starts with an L. But crypto mining is a bunch of machines that are doing work. It requires really no human involvement other than when I have to troubleshoot a problem or fix something.
The true
or interface
definition
with
of
people
passive
who want to
income.
invest.
That's really it. But that's like, do you want to do it or not? Like, I'm not begging for people's money on that business.
Yeah.
So, and then River City Capital, it's more delegating and then selling the person. It's convincing the person who needs their house sold. Like, this person can't list this house on the real estate or on the MLS or agent sell it because, one, it needs a shit ton of work. Most people who are buying houses aren't looking for a lot of like that sweat equity. They want that move-in ready house. Granted, there are some people that are willing to do some stuff.
Yeah.
But the only the only person that's going to buy these type of houses are real estate investors like myself
Right.
or other developers.
Okay. So what are the
it
what
still
are your other
requires
businesses?
sales.
So we're at 8, I think.
That was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let me
I do
with
sleep.
that many with that many businesses, what do you I guess what I'm gathering is you're saying the most important thing is automation and delegation.
It's what can you automate without compromising integrity of sales and the business or even my integrity. How much can you delegate and how much work do you have to do yourself? But like people tell me like, Ryan, how do you sleep at night? I'm like, I have this with other people, but there are other businesses, business owners I know who are far more successful than I am that have like 12 times, 10 times the amount of businesses that I have and are still at the end of the day, it's automation and delegation.
So okay, that's a very like that's
And
a real value thing there. Like learning automation and delegation is the key to doing
Without
a lot more.
but doing it in a so without compromising the integrity of the business, because if you compromise a lot of stuff, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot and wasting time on the business. Yeah, there's some
You can't have superhero syndrome with that, can you?
no. It's try not to spend the same dollar twice. I'm trying to figure a way to explain this. Like if I make a bunch of money on one business and throw that money back into business to make more money, sometimes doesn't always make sense. It's spending the same dollar twice is kind of weird sometimes, but sometimes you have to. But it's and then optimizing those procedures and figuring out the ones that don't work, because there is some like River City Capital is I would say is the slowest growing one. There's a lot of challenges.
It's a tough market
Well,
at the moment.
there's every person and their son and the mother is doing it or trying to do it. So it's oversaturated. And
Yeah, you're competing with Property Brothers. Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's on
Chip and Joanna.
HGTV. It took 3 days to do this. Oh, I could totally do that. So there's that. And then buying bad data. And then it's just like we got screwed on a lot of things where we bought services to delegate and to automate our services that we bought into what they were selling. And they said this, and it was complete, utter dog shit. And we lost money because we bought that service. And then, okay, that was just a bad fluke. It sucks.
Cost of doing business.
Let's
Yeah.
find someone else. Oh,
learn
this
something.
person, it happened to us twice. The same, essentially trying to find a VA service that did all our cold calling. Both services we hired promised the night and day, whatever.
So there's a lot of there's I mean, automation and delegation is truly the key to starting multiple businesses.
Well, and I think also he's very strategic about what he's starting, right? You know, one of the jokes around the office that I consistently make is Ryan's about to start another side hustle whenever he comes in and he's brought some gizmo. Right? it's like, oh, look what I just got. It's like, oh my God, a side hustle is starting. But in his defense, he does a good job of picking things that are very systematic, right? You know, Fresh Move is not one of those businesses. Fresh Move is a team of people with a lot of labor-intensive work. It's creative work, right? That ultimately to accomplish a project for a client, right? And that makes it very different, right? But he's not starting 5 fresh moves, right? And that's fundamentally different, right?
No.
So, you know, so for me, and how, you know, because Ryan and I are very different people, right? Anybody who's had a conversation with us for more than 3 minutes knows that, right? That he's very different than me, and I'm very different than him.
Yeah, his choice in coffee sucks.
And in most, well, we'll get into
He likes
that.
Folgers.
So we can have a whole podcast on that alone. So, but the thing is, even though we might come from a different perspective on most things, ultimately, as business partners, it's about seeking alignment, right? And moving in the same direction ultimately. But for me, my philosophy is very much like I want to do one thing well, right? And don't get me wrong, I am invested in Lux Metal Card, so I'm a part owner in Lux Metal Card. Shout out to Lux Metal Card, all of your business card needs.
See, that's
This podcast is sponsored by Lux Metal Card.
the way that you're talking is kind of the way I've approached everything in my life.
Yeah,
I'm very obsession oriented.
Yeah.
Like so so
well, here's the thing. Let's transition to you a little bit because you have a really interesting story. So we were debating coffee before this podcast started, right? And for those of you who don't know, Aaron knows a lot about coffee. He's quite the aficionado.
He was a barista at Starbucks.
There you go.
I was
right?
a coffee master at
Yeah.
Starbucks.
When they bring the head honchos, like the corporate head honchos in, you were the guy that got to do the.
Well, yeah,
the-
when they would so a lot of the corporate people they would make tours of stores and stuff, and so whenever they would come in, they would have me do the tastings, and they would. I don't know.
You were a big deal.
I was.
You were a big
At the
deal.
time, I was
You
a
were the
big
coffee
deal.
guy.
Looking back at it, I'm like, oh, okay.
BDE. Aaron had BDE. Big dick energy.
Inappropriate.
Oh man.
That might need to be cut out.
Not doing it.
So, okay, tell us a little bit about your transition from the barista to what you do now, right? What happened?
Yeah, so I was so growing up, I was like very much the unmotivated individual.
Just
you
like
know,
me.
Yeah, you know, you go to school and like you get out of school, like the whole time you're at school, everyone there is complaining that they're not is complaining that they're at school and not doing something that they want to do.
Yeah.
And so like that's extremely you learn really big habits of like not caring and not being motivated and like living for the weekend.
Just
So-
doing
so hold on.
doing what you're told
Did you
to
get
do.
good grades?
No.
Did you get good grades?
No.
Did you get
On
good
certain
grades?
things.
In high school and before I did in college, no.
Like
When-
under a 3?
When
I got a diploma in college.
when I applied when I applied myself, I could get an A.
Right.
Yeah.
But when
same.
I didn't give a
Just didn't
shit,
care. Yeah.
I just didn't
Nope.
care.
Yeah.
So like
so
Matt,
all of us did not give a shit about school. We can agree to that.
No.
Pretty.
Yeah, I did not care.
I would.
it was an
I
extreme
just
dislike of it.
graduated with what I
Quite
needed
frankly,
to do.
I
Yeah.
got the degree because my mom really wanted me to get the degree, and my
Mhm.
grandma was coming
because
to
that was what you
graduation,
were
and I had,
raised
to get,
with. Yeah.
I had to get the degree.
I'm not saying it's a caveat for you to drop out of high school. Yes,
Yeah,
you should
no.
do that.
Yeah.
No, don't.
But when it
Drop out
comes
of
to
anything.
like
I think it's just
Yeah.
a personality trait. You're just like, why am I learning this? And I don't want to say
What-
it's meaningless, but it's purpose.
what's the terminology? The A students work for the
A students work for the B students. The C students own the business. The D students own the building,
That's
or
funny.
something along those
That's
lines.
funny.
Yeah.
But
It's a
back to you.
huge
Yeah, yeah,
generalization,
yeah,
but
yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
it's fairly accurate
But
in
it's,
a lot of
it's
ways.
just a personality trait.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
just like that ideology is like I just hate school. I want
Yeah,
to do something that's
yeah.
purposeful to myself.
yeah,
right?
well, I didn't even have the idea that I wanted to do anything like. So I mean, when you graduate from school and you go to like some sort of a scheduled 9-to-5 job,
It's thrown
like
into life.
it reinforces that.
Yeah.
Like it reinforces that mentality of just like
Show up.
this is when life sucks, and then life can get better when you're not there. And then like that is that for anyone listening, that is a sorry reality and does not have to be your reality. So what happened is I was a youth pastor and I was working at Starbucks, and we found out my wife was pregnant way before we were intending on having children. And so I was like, something has to change. So I took a personality test online, and it said that
it was one of those clickbait ads.
No,
on Facebook, the little 10 question one.
it was Myers. I think it was Myers-Briggs.
Oh,
Myers-Briggs.
Myers-Briggs.
And
yeah.
and it said I was looking for career strengths, and it was like I think you would be good at problem solving. I say I think like it was a person who was talking about like Myers-Briggs like hopped out of the computer and was just
Myers
we
said to
think
you.
that we think that you should probably be a problem solver. No, like I had to justify like no, like I had to convince you guys that didn't happen. No, so I
they didn't make you take that test in high school.
I don't know.
They did that our
the career.
They
No.
did that our
Yeah.
senior year
No.
in high school. They made us take this
No.
test. By the way, I did not do any of those things.
So it said I would be a problem solver. So I immediately Googled problem solver jobs, and one of them was graphic design. I was like, I can be technical. That's fine. And then so I started like spending like probably 19 hours a day, like obsessing about graphic design, learning absolutely everything that I could. And I started a business before I even had the skills. Well, I shouldn't say I started a business. I started telling people I started a business before I even had the skills. And I was just like, but I was so obsessed and so like, it was so different because like I would sit down for 8 hours on a flyer. And like, that's an exorbitant amount of time to spend on a flyer. You should spend 15 minutes on a flyer. But I would do that because I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like figuring every step of
Clicking
the way
every
out.
single button.
I was clicking
Yep.
everything and like just like trial and error learning this stuff. I wasn't even.
And was this while you were still a barista?
Yeah.
You were doing this?
Yeah. So and then I was
Is it
doing
barista or barista?
Barista.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
I've heard
barista.
both.
Coffee
Yeah,
master.
Yeah.
So I was getting to spending all these time on these flyers for these realtors, and they were, and then I was, for a couple of them were sending me pictures that were just the worst, and so I was just like, you've ruined all the time that I've spent on
With this terrible
with this
picture.
terrible. So I was like, anyone could do better, which was incredibly arrogant because as it turns out, like I started, real estate photography is extremely complicated. So
just
I
point and click.
started doing real estate photography, and like I don't know, like when it became my own, like something snapped, and I just like
Did anyone tell you no, you couldn't do this, or you suck
people
at
looked at me like I was an idiot. They were like, "Oh, you're gonna do that?" And then I had people telling me, take a job at Amazon. Don't just like this is not the time to start a business.
It's crazy
because your wife's
how
pregnant.
how many people don't move forward with something that they want to do because they listen to a friend or a family member, which are usually the worst when you're starting out. It's all great and sunshine and rainbows when you've made it. Your parents, not saying, no offense to my parents, they love what we're doing, but usually when you're starting out, there's not much faith
Mm.
in that person.
You can't be reliant on someone else's opinion.
So like when I was a kid, my dream job, what I wanted to do at a high school, not to take away from what you're doing, was to you talking about doing those Myers-Briggs tests, was to be a fighter pilot. Yes, watching Top Gun, the first one. I kid you not,
Gotcha.
because in middle school I did in Newport before we moved here in Newport News in like elementary and middle school, I did Silver Air Patrol.
Yeah.
I was part of that and the whole. It's some like a minor version of JROTC, but you're flying Cessna. You learn all that stuff.
Nice.
I did all that, but this one kid, I remember his name was Robert, told me you can't become a pilot because there was like, this is before like Google, and I bought what he said. You can't become a pilot unless you have 20/20 vision, and I didn't have perfect 20/20 vision. That like scared me, whatever, and it kind of stopped me off course. Like, what's the point of doing all this work if you can't become a pilot? But that's before true. You can become a pilot without 20/20 vision. It just has to be within a certain range.
Mhm.
But my whole life goal had been destroyed by
Derailed
this
by
one
one statement.
Destroyed
Yeah.
your dream
by
in
one
statement.
douchebag
Yeah.
who didn't become a pilot himself, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah,
That's
I
interesting.
and I had people saying that like this is not the time to start a business. This is you
Play it
should.
safe.
And
Uh,
it was
Don't do that.
Yeah, you're having a kid.
You need
and
stability, stable income.
that,
Yeah.
and you had to have this type of grades in school, and I wasn't great at school. So it was a combination of a lot of things, but letting other people dictate what I can. That's kind of going back to what we started at the beginning. Is what was that part that sparked you? And it's like, did that
Well,
at all motivate you at
it
all?
was-
when
And
it
I
came
think
to
what
people?
I think what you're describing, right, is there was like a fundamental like belief that you could do it because you looked at something and you were like, oh, I could do better than that, right? And when there's like faith and belief internally, intrinsically,
Yeah.
then you just do the actions to make it happen.
And
right?
stubbornness.
and as far as personality goes, I'm very low in neuroticism, so I'm way too optimistic.
Yeah.
I'm way more optimistic than I should be a lot of times. But
Like,
like
with timetables for things, like, oh, I'll
Absolutely.
totally be ready.
yeah,
by
yeah, I'll be ready by then. Yeah, I'm gonna be on time. Yeah,
5 minutes.
yeah, I can finish that 5-hour appointment in 3.
no
Yeah,
problem.
You'll
no
have that
problem.
by tomorrow.
But yeah, so so then real estate photography, like I was so driven. I was telling everyone about it, and I was just like I don't know. It's like something took over me, and a whole life changed, and like that was it. And so real estate photography, I had clients. I had no interest in photography, but then the real estate photography became video because I had clients that wanted video, and then like the video became like video production, and it was somewhere. It was a bit after that I met you guys.
Yeah.
I
And
met him first.
yeah, I met James, and James.
Our BNI group.
So I guess at that point you
Networking
guys
group.
were relatively new, and
Ish.
2018. Yeah.
because
yeah.
I remember I did the video for the Woody's job.
Yeah, yeah. So that's
I was-
because that was one of our that spring. Wow,
We
that was one of
we
our like
exchanged
first
services. A
well-established
website
Richmond
for
clients.
a website for 2 videos.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you did a website for me. And truth be told,
Which you turned off, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't even want the website. I just wanted the chance to do the work for you guys, but I didn't want to
What
do
the
the work.
hell? We did all that work?
I didn't want to do the work for nothing. I didn't want to I wanted like an exchange of
Right.
value at least. And at the time I didn't realize that the website wasn't going to be super valuable for me.
Yeah.
But like, you know, when we started doing work for each other, like everything changed.
Yeah.
And so everything snowballed, because the thing is, when you are crazy driven and you get the chance to do something, or you create the chance to do something, you can outperform your ability with your drive. And I think that's what you have to have. You have to be willing to way overperform, not do bare minimums.
Little
If you're starting
Bring
a
more
business
value to the person.
right,
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
And that's been something that's always been in the back of my head. I want to provide way more value than I'm charging.
Gary V.
because-
Value.
Oh, really? I don't know what you said.
Garage sales.
Hey, and I think one of the things on this is
Eat shit.
strategic relationship building too, right?
I wasn't ready.
We didn't have quote unquote film production as a service until we
Well,
met you.
we did some like fly-by-night type stuff.
We did some video internally, right?
Right.
You and I
No, we did
modeling
stuff.
our way through it.
We did some stuff for On Point, remember, for the website.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
but see, even that was stuff me emulating him, right? Meaning like watching what he did with Woody's and watching what he did with other video content, and then like trying my best to emulate it, but understanding that, hey, this is not my thing, right?
Specialty.
And the relationship building with you created, I mean, it's film production is probably 30% of our overall top line revenue now,
Mhm.
right? I mean, it's a big part of what we do. And it was because of that relationship that we built with you and bringing you on. And the same thing is true with Cody, right? With websites, I mean, websites now are pretty close to half of our business. And, you know, that comes from our relationship building with you. And then
it's
ultimately.
actually only 20% of our business.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're right. So I don't have QuickBooks in front of me. So, but yeah, and that makes a difference, because we found the right people to really be the foundational components of this, and that's how I think about businesses. Right? Is the people capital, right? Because the people are
It's
the
alive.
most important thing.
Yeah,
Right?
it's an alive organism
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
a company is just a group of people. That's all it is. It's
Yep.
what makes the company, and that's
Yep.
why culture is super important.
Driven by
Um,
the same views and values and
And
ideologies, right?
Right.
And one more thing on that, right? So you had this excitement, you had this drive, you were fired up about it, right? But ultimately, it was about getting out there and actually doing the work for people. And sometimes you have to do that before you have the portfolio, right?
Yeah.
You
What
have
were,
to
what
work
were
for
some
free.
of those early jobs like for you?
Oh man, I remember doing some $30 real estate shoots. I remember doing
$30.
I remember doing some like portraits of friends that I knew that were just like, I was giving stuff away, man. I was just like trying to have content to show people that I could do it.
Yeah.
And
you have to be willing to work for free when you're first starting out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of mentality. People think I am worth this much.
you might
No,
be. You might be.
Yeah, you could be.
But you can't prove it to anyone.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Especially when you're new. So
Yep.
you have to stop comparing yourself to others. Just because someone else had what looks like overnight success, when you didn't sit behind them every single day 24/7. In reality, they didn't have overnight success.
6 years.
It doesn't exist.
Yep.
But the problem is people compare themselves to that, and they let that almost get in the way of them actually achieving anything, because when they don't hit that same level of success as that other person that they're trying to compare themselves to, then they become no longer motivated and they quit, or they get
Yeah.
pissed off, and then they let it cloud their judgment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I've learned not to do that. And or like when you also got to have business partners that don't also think like that. And if they do think like that, try to convince them, like, stop comparing yourself to that. And you can't have work on something part-time and expect full-time results. That's another thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And by that philosophy, I couldn't give up the Starbucks income at that point.
Right.
So the answer was I was working Starbucks 4:30 to 1:30, 4:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And then I immediately started the real estate business, and I was working 6 to 8 hours on that.
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
then
And then also
Is that
YouTubing and like teaching yourself how to
that
do
was
things.
that was every waking moment.
Yeah.
The learning from YouTube was every waking moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was there was
12,
no
15-hour days.
at least.
Yeah.
At least.
Yep.
There was a lot of nights with 3 hours of sleep.
Well, and one of the things I've also noticed in working with you these years has been you can see when your wheels are turning, and I think you chose the right.
Oh man,
career
you light
path,
up.
right?
You light up
Because
when there's an idea.
When we have a
that floats
creative
around.
meeting, and it's like we're with a client, you could just see like he's hearing the client speak, and then something's forming in his mind, right? And I like to equate it to like the Beautiful Mind scene with Russell Crowe, where he's looking out there. He's right now.
I would think less beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's funny. So Cody, let's talk a little about because you just started a new business, right? So it's in its
Very
infancy.
infant stages. Let's say less than 6
It's
months.
Just a baby.
Just a little baby. Just teeny tiny. What do you want to know?
Well, sorry, Siri started talking over here.
So
Oh,
what are you doing?
I guess the main component is IT consulting.
Okay.
Besides hosting anything that goes on a computer, right? So for Fresh with Media, I actually host all of their domains.
Okay.
So any client that they have, I actually manage their servers.
Oh, very
Right.
interesting.
I do IT consulting anywhere from cybersecurity. So if they want to understand how to protect their business, I do that. If they want to understand processes in IT, I do that as well. So that's my main component that I do. The business itself does pretty much anything that's in IT, which is a lot.
Okay.
So if I do anything from endpoint management to where I can have people, submitting tickets saying, hey, my Outlook doesn't work, or this is broken, fix my PDF, change it from a PDF to a Word document, I need to submit a ticket for that. That's what an MSP is, managed service provider.
Stuff we don't do.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the grand scheme of things, I can do anything from just managing a server to managing a whole entire business as your outsource IT department, essentially. So that's what it is.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and on that note, being that it's new, right? You're still very much in those stages of, hey, I will help anybody.
I am shotgun blasting anything and everything that is like computer related. I
Yeah.
don't know how to do
If somebody
this,
has a
I got it.
business and they have a
Yep.
computer, you're interested in having a conversation.
My iPhone is not sending emails.
Yep, my emails don't work. Why? This doesn't work. Why? I don't understand how this process works. Why? Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, I'll answer that for you.
Did
not a
you
problem.
hit send? Oh,
Well,
okay.
Yeah, did you turn it off and turn it back on again?
It's usually the answer, right?
That's
So
Nine
you
times out of
started
ten.
you started a business to ask people if they turn their stuff off and on.
You will be surprised how often that is. Like
Yeah.
that is troubleshooting steps. Like, did you
Yeah.
try to restarting your computer? What browser are you using? Did you close it? You reopen it? So like those are like basic questions you think the majority of people know, but they don't.
Well, and
So-
you've always been a problem solver too, right? So that's where I think this is like
Where your problem solving is technical, mine is creative.
Yes, I love, like, I can play SimCity for hours.
yeah.
Same
I
here.
mean, SimCity, Anno 1800 or whatever.
Oh, I
other,
love
like,
that game.
You introduced
Age
me
of
to
Empires, RimWorld, like
Yeah.
anything that's dealing with like building an intricate system. I love building.
Age of
because-
Empires.
Age
Yeah.
of Empires, I love. Roller Coaster Tycoon,
Tycoon,
that
we
they
were
just
just-
released it on Apple Store. But I made this business because I was faced with an ultimatum of unfortunate circumstances, but it was a contractual change to go into the office, and I felt really it was either go into the office or you're no longer with this company. It's pretty much what I was served up. So I was like, okay, well, I rebutted that. I was like, if I want to go in the office, I moved further away from base because I was going to be fully remote, which was my idea. But they were like, well, that's not what the contract says. You're going to be in the office in like 2 days. They didn't give me like a week notice. So like, okay, give me the weekend to think about it. I need to reevaluate my expenses. I'm going to be driving an extra hour and a half to and from,
Yeah,
so I
it's
need
a
that
huge
time.
commute.
Like,
Yeah.
you need to pay me for that time.
Yeah.
Depreciation value on my vehicle, yada yada yada. So I gave them a rebuttal. And they're like, "No, we can't do this." I was like, "Okay, then I'm gone." So that day, I started Amir Technologies. I went onto Virginia's SEC website, filed for a new LLC. I'm calling people from the old B&I that I did for Freshman Media, hitting people up within 3 hours. I was talking to people getting business.
Wow.
And it cost me $100 to establish the business. Didn't even have a bank account yet. And it was because I was forced into an ultimatum. I didn't like being backed into a corner and feeling invalidated of my worth.
Yeah.
That was the biggest one. I was told no. And then there was a lot of, smaller stuff that kept adding up. It's like, well, we need to redesign this because this system's flawed. So that kind of goes back to building good systems. I can't stand crappy systems or crappy processes. I just can't do it. I'm like, no, you need to redo this. There's a better way of doing it, and I can do it better.
By the way, I just realized technically I would have 9 businesses because Think Fresh Move Forward when it start making money would be a business of its own.
Oh, there you go.
Ah,
Podcast.
there you go. Podcast.
You own
yeah.
another business.
Delegation.
You own a business. You get a business. You get a business.
Speaking of
man.
which, as of this week, I have acquired my first business that was already running.
Nice.
Real estate?
Another
No, it's not real
another
estate.
photographer.
Yeah.
It's photography and videography related, but
Did
it's
you
in the
buy it outright, or is it like you pay off over a certain amount of time?
pay off over a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So, but what
That's
happens is I pay on proceeds. Right, I pay royalties until a certain point, and
Not in
So-
perpetuity. But
So
just-
that's
not in perpetuity
kinda,
up till
nice.
a point.
Yeah,
our
good
our
point.
business, the one that I sold, that was a almost like a finance deal. It was over 12 months. It was a chunk of change up front, and then the remaining over 12 months to all the other owners. And then if you ever missed a payment, there were late interest charges.
Yeah.
Hefty,
Brutal.
hefty, like
Brutal.
25%. If you,
Oh, God.
Yeah.
oh,
Worse
no,
than a credit card.
but yeah, absolutely, because you need to make sure you pay this.
Oh, yeah,
business.
definitely. You got to
Um,
get paid.
Well, so, yeah, and I think it's just kind of interesting hearing each of the stories and having a good
Well,
understanding
congrats,
of,
by the way,
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's
Yeah,
awesome. Very
congratulations.
good.
on spending money.
Yeah, I think there's elements of each of our personalities that kind of fit well into the roles that
Yeah.
we're in. And I mean, for you, problem solving. I mean, literally, I had to pull you off something the other day where you were asking about solving a problem, and I was like, I'm done. It's fixed. And he's like, well, it's like a
I could do it
workaround.
faster than you, James.
It's like that's a workaround. It's not really a fix. So I was like,
Lazy.
it's not important. It's checked.
Nope.
We're moving forward. Right?
Wrong.
It does not matter.
Wrong.
But
wrong.
because sometimes as a business owner you have to make decisions to cut ties and sort of move
Yeah.
forward, right? But
It
yeah,
can come to bite you in the ass, though.
everybody
Definitely can.
everybody in this around this table is different in interesting ways, and it it shows in what.
Well,
we
I
do
think we all have a
professionally, so.
sales background. I mean, like my
Well,
very
I
first
mean-
job was being in the annoying dude on a microphone trying to get people to play games at King's Dominion.
There you go.
Like,
I was a lifeguard though at the
Yeah.
same park,
Yeah.
funny.
watching people float.
Well, you were hawking your real estate photos or like graphic design work while you were a barista, right?
Yeah.
You were like telling everybody, hey, I had
and,
the
and real estate photos, and
Yeah.
I was actually I have the sales record at Starbucks for selling
the most.
so
The
it's
most
called
upsells.
at home coffee. So the record previously was like 15 to 20 pounds in like a certain amount of time, and I hit like 72.
They give you
I
commission
was
on that.
doing no. It was more like, good job, keep doing it, please,
I-
because we
I-
want to make more money.
Yeah.
I don't understand how some of these retail locations don't offer at least a small commission. Because you could, if you
Or
did that,
bonus, yeah.
yeah, some people
well,
probably just won't.
Comcast did that.
Oh,
for
wait,
the
wait, wait.
longest time.
I got a pen that said Employee of the Month.
Nice.
Imagine if
So,
Best Buy.
Nailed it.
It was Circuit City. Circuit City did that.
Yeah, see,
They're not in business anymore.
They're not in business anymore. Well, for a lot bigger reasons.
other
than-
reasons
for
than
other
that.
reasons, yeah. but
well,
they did the
actually,
commission
Circuit City
rate.
is actually technically still around as an online retailer, by the way.
I didn't know.
No,
Fun
that's
fact. Best Buy, I'm just using Best Buy as an example. Imagine if like their sales, people will probably get helped a lot more often, but like you probably sell, instead of just a TV, you might convince the person to sell an entire sound system along with that.
Yeah.
Or
So I worked at Best Buy.
yeah, they don't just don't do that.
Their margins, the biggest margins that Best Buy is the appliance and the home theater section. So I worked in the computer section. You sell a computer, that was like 5% margin.
Yeah.
They're like, you need to upsell all the accessories and the Geek Squad. That's where the real money is at for the computer section. Was like,
Yeah,
you need to
yeah.
upsell the Geek Squad services for
But
them
they,
to.
they didn't. But they didn't pay you more.
Oh
You-
no,
Just
no, that was just
basically
part of your
like-
job. Yeah.
Like an MSP, essentially, right? Is
Mhm.
Geek Squad, right?
Yep.
For an individual person.
Yeah,
So this is-
way more intuitive, but
Yeah.
yes.
But
Yeah.
what line of revenue could you make more if you offer that sort? Again, it's giving the people a
So the
drive or
way they
initiative.
did it was,
Especially with today's
the
society.
people that sold the most got more hours.
Oh my God.
That's such a.
Oh
So
my
it's like
God.
you were part time. If you
Oh
weren't
my
doing,
God.
performance wise, you couldn't pick up shifts.
That's such an effed up way
Yeah.
of doing.
So it's like
That's
and
wild.
the full time people got first dibs. So all the part time people were pretty much fighting for hours.
Oh my gosh.
So I
That's
wonder
that's
what
a
that
fucked
did.
up sales
Here's the
culture.
thing, because I think
jeez.
about that from a manager perspective. What does that do to the store manager in their ability or
And
the
the
amount of
turnover.
time they'd
Well,
have
they
to
had
spend
3 department
recruiting
managers
and
then you had the store
interviewing
manager.
and
Oh, yeah.
replacing people, right? And then training new people because because the amount
There was
of
a decent
part-time
turnaround rate.
the amount of part-time employees that are just gone
Yep.
because of that, right?
That's unbelievable.
But they had the full time. So it was always one full time when I was there. I mean, their whole sales structure, I'm pretty sure it's changed by now. This is like high school, 2009, 2008 era. Jeez, when Circuit City was still around. But yeah, no, they had always one full time employee in each department. Then you had your part time people cycling out.
Yeah.
Especially today with today's work culture, where it's the like I don't want to work, or I will work, but I will work very like half-assed.
It takes your unmotivated people and makes them even more unmotivated.
Right. It's just going to make it harder for you to fill those jobs, but then they're going to blame the lack of sales on a bunch of other reasons when in reality it's their fault.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, what they're trying to accomplish with that is taking your like top performers, right, and treating them well so they don't leave, right?
I don't feel like that's treating them well. I feel like that's.
But,
well, I mean, what it's saying is,
but you
perform well.
It's
right?
someone who's not
You
a
have
sales.
security,
It's
right?
someone who's not in a sales role. That's more of a manager type role that has never had that level of excitement or way to drive something.
Yeah.
And it's just like I can just manage these people and they have to hit these, and then I get that nice pat on the back, and it's more of a career advancement for them than it is for other people.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, let's transition, I think, because we have an ad.
This
to
is
watch,
our
right?
next segment of the podcast. It's our ad review, where we watch a ad and then we give our thoughts and feedback on it.
Aaron, do you want to set it up?
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite ads right now, and it's so good, and I think that it's a really good ad for people to see as business owners, because this is a concept that almost every business in America can act on, with some exceptions. But go ahead.
Light away.
Meet Jessica Moore. Jessica was born to care. She always had your back.
Oh, we
like
don't
the
get
time she
copyright claim.
spotted the neighbor kid, an approaching car, a puddle, and knew there was going to be a situation.
That's my best friend.
My best friend.
Miss Hogan's class? Yeah, it's Atlantis. Nice.
Irony.
I don't think they had camels in Atlantis. Really?
Today, she's a teammate at Truist, the bank that starts with care. When you start with care, you get a different kind of bank.
God, the music makes it.
Yeah, music is like 90% of videos so often. What's really cool about this is that Truist is a bank, and they sold you on people, and that's a thing that every business in America can potentially. They didn't promise you rates. They didn't promise you.
They didn't talk about free
security,
checking.
They did. Yeah, they
open a checking account. Get $250 now.
They promised you nothing, and they said, but what they did is they said, this is the kind of people we hire. If that's the kind of people you want to deal with, that's what we have. And
But
so, like,
these are the people that you trust with your
if
money.
you want to make a pivot in your business, and you want to say we hire driven people that are driven to do their best, I'm going to be sold on that.
I gotta say though, kudos to the set designer of this, because this is either 70s and the 80s, and every car on that street is from that time period.
Look at that.
And the house,
details.
the houses are still stuck in the 70s. This is California for sure, because you can tell with the palm trees. 100%. This is near LA.
Super cool.
That's well done.
And I don't know if you, a lot of times also on sets they always
That bike.
they always wet the road, and you can see the sidewalks done as well. But every time, if you look at any commercial, there's a road or street. It's always
so it makes it black.
it's usually always wet.
What did it do?
What did it do?
It increases contrast in your image. It makes things sparkle and shine. It basically just takes a very flat image that we see all the freaking time, and it gives it something extra. And then it also made sense within the context of this.
Right.
But they bring in water trucks, which is super expensive in California. But anyway.
I love the
so
speed
many good
ramping.
things.
I think it's cut in a really interesting way.
Yeah.
Even to your point, it's ironic that they used Atlantis and there was water. That was gonna
Yeah,
swallow
and then there's
Atlantis.
camels.
Yeah.
A lot of
I
funny
didn't
things.
put two and two together to now.
Yeah,
So-
that's great. All
All right.
right.
And then just the music, it's boppy.
So
What's our next
music
one?
is everything.
All upbeat.
to the next. So this is more of a movie trailer, but it's a side by side. This is more of a fun thing, a recreation of the Top Gun Maverick trailer.
Which I just saw this weekend, which was awesome.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
great.
It was awesome.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. Top grossing film for highest top grossing film for Tom Cruise, even more so than the first Top Gun. But anyways, kudos more to the animator who did all this stop animation.
The amount of work
amount
involved.
of time just for a YouTube video. All right, go ahead and play it, Aaron.
That's wild.
They even got the
This is so great.
afterburner.
Is one of the finest pilots this program
Look
has
how
ever
smooth the
produced.
motion is. It's incredibly difficult to get stop motion to be smooth because of the amount of frames that you have to do each shot. Like the
It's
amount
tedious.
of photos that you have to do. It's
His
unbelievable.
exploits are legendary.
It like hit the bike even moved
Yep.
side to side when he
Yep.
stopped.
What he has to teach you may very well mean the difference between life.
And you see the blinking?
That's the blinking too.
That they have
The
to
eye,
re-
the pupils.
they
move.
have to replace the head of the Lego.
The
They can't-
lighting on this
Yeah.
is so,
That is crazy.
Yeah.
especially
yeah,
with this scene.
Reputation precedes
You have
you.
fans in the background. Look, there's dust.
They've added the dust in post.
They're called orders, Maverick.
Wow.
Every time you see a head or an eyeball move on a Lego, that they had
That's
to
a picture.
replace
Yeah.
the head of the Lego with a head that made it that was like incrementally different.
Like they even got the flag from the bombs. Wow.
Good morning, aviators. This is your captain speaking. Today's
Yeah, you guys see this
exercise
movie
is
again.
dogfighting.
2 versus 1? He's got to be kidding.
Oh, that's Tom Cruise's personal P-51 Mustang.
Oh, nice.
And the amount of time that short little burst of bullets,
Yeah.
the amount of time that took would
The
make me
flash
nauseous.
flares too.
So well done.
Yeah.
Hey, can you just real quick pull up this guy, the other video? Not that we'll watch the whole thing, but just like showing the set, right, of what he did.
Oh, behind the scenes.
Yeah, the behind the scenes.
Oh, did you guys find out behind the scenes?
He did. He has a segment coming out that he's doing. Hit One Beat Man, real quick. Hit his channel, and go to videos, and
Oh,
there
he's
it
got-
is.
he's got a lot of them.
It's a 30-second, but he's working on a behind the scenes. 5 months.
Oh my gosh.
So he essentially. Oh my
Oh,
god.
look at that,
my
look at that, oh
gosh.
my
Oh,
God.
that makes me nauseous. Oh my god.
You
The
have to
tedium,
have
the
patience.
tedium. Whew.
Lots and lots of patience.
Insane.
Wow.
Oh,
And be super
man.
dedicated.
So.
Definitely.
All right,
Obsessed.
we got our meme review to
Meme
wrap
review,
up.
and this is your meme, James.
All right.
Which one did you
We're
do
off
this
by
time?
a week, but I would say it's still
Yeah,
relevant.
still relevant.
What is it? Oh.
History and pictures. First of all, perfectly captured photo. I love it. Johnny Depp, the first man in history to win an argument against a woman.
That's 866 likes.
Well done. Well done,
Well
John.
done.
Well done.
Well done.
Well done, Johnny.
Historical.
Thanks for representation.
Historic moment.
Represented us.
All right.
Oh, man.
This podcast is sponsored by Lux Metal Card.
Get your metal
and
card.
Freshman Media.
For all your metal business card needs.
All right. Well,
Replace Pith.
hopefully today is valuable to someone out there who's like starting a business and like maybe
In
you
the
don't have all the
trenches.
skills yet.
And
Yeah.
for the and for the person that stuck through this entire podcast and listened to us ramble, if you could please like and subscribe,
Yes.
comment down below, let us know what you think. If there's a business you started, let us know. We'd love to hear
Give
about
us
it.
your perspective.
Give us your perspective. And any last thoughts?
I'm good.
A little hungry. Okay. Well, that concludes the Think Fresh Move Forward podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.